What up, what up, what up, YouTube Live? How's it going, everybody? Oh, let me put a nice collar in there. My backpack's in the background. Um, right now is Friday night, May 31st, 2019. And you know what that means. May 31st is the premiere of Swamp Thing pilot episode. So I just watched the episode, which, by the way, is only available on DC Universe. And I want to give you my thoughts about it. Um, So, heads up, I'll be spilling some spoilers in this video. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow DC fans, my fellow Swamp Thing fans, who have also watched today's pilot or premiere episode. Okay, let's get right to it. Um, Context wise, it's it's a very simple first episode. I want that's how I would describe it. Um, it starts out with this scene involving a few guys on a boat in the middle of a swamp in Louisiana, and apparently they have dynamites. And they one of the guys is played by actor R.J. Seiler, who also showed up in another DC show on CW called Black Lightning. He was there just for a few episodes, and then his character got killed off. And now to see him is in another DC show, but something that's more TVMA. It's very interesting. And I looked it up. Apparently, RJ Seiler, even though his character dies in this pilot episode because the swamp kills him, and man, the swamp killed him in the gnarliest way. Holy crap! You got to check it out. It's like these, swamp branches is like protruding through the boat and like sticking through his body, and he gets like, oh, and out of his mouth, blood everywhere. Holy crap. Jeez. But I looked it up. Apparently he's gonna show up at least 3 episodes in this season 1. So I'm not sure if that's flashback or he turns into something. Remember, this is a supernatural kind of science fiction kind of show, supernatural science fiction kind of show. Okay, so it starts out with that, and then bam, the next scene involves this adorable little girl in a school. Her nose starts bleeding and she falls down. Apparently she's not the only one. It's been like an epidemic in that small town in Louisiana. And on the other side of the world, we see Dr. Abby Arcane in Congo with her assistant, played by Leonardo Nam. If you are familiar with Leonardo Nam, it's because you are my fellow Westworld fans. Leonardo Nam plays one of the scientists in Westworld. At least, I think first season. I don't know. Yeah, he was in the second season as well. So it's nice to see him like be part of Swamp Thing now. I'm not sure if he's gonna be a Sears regular or just recurring role, but it's like, oh, he's got a new gig. That's good. That's good for you, my fellow Asian Leonardo Nam. I'm happy for you. By the way, I interviewed Leonardo Nam 1 year at the Asian Pacific American Film Festival, but the next year I kind of messed up. I interviewed him on the carpet and I messed up, and he got pissed at me a little bit. So Leonardo, if you watch this, I just want to say I am sorry, man. My apologies. I had a bad evening that day. I didn't mean to mess up my interview with you. Okay, so let's get back to so Abby Arcane with Leonardo's character. They're in Congo and they got this notification like, oh, we got to go back to Louisiana. There's this epidemic going on, and Abby Arcane is played by Crystal Reed, and Abby is a part of CDC, Center for Disease Control agency. Um, so she's contacted to she's been assigned to Louisiana, to that small town that apparently that's where she came from too. That's where she originated. That's where she's from. Her childhood, her upbringing, her high school, and all that good stuff. And so now that she's back, whatever past that she had left behind before, now that past kind of catches up to her. Like apparently it involves her high school friend that something happened to her. Her name is Shauna, and she's the daughter of this very influential couple, the Sunderlands, Avery and Maria. Avery is played by Will Patton, and Maria is played by Oscar nominee Virginia Madsen, from one of my favorite movies, Sideways. And there's a scene in which Maria confronts Abby in a bar, kind of like, hey, drudging up old past, like, hey, what you did to my daughter, I can never forgive you. So the minute that you're done with your work here and everybody's cured, I want you gone. That same minute. Um, in the meantime, Abby is working closely with um, Alec Holland. Alec Holland in this one is played by actor. I want to get the name right. Andy Bean, I believe. Andy Bean. That's right. I'm not familiar with Andy Bean. I apologize. I'm not familiar with his previous work. So to me, he is a bit of a fresh face, but that's a good thing. And and they encounter, as they try to figure out or solve this mystery, they encounter that this thing, whatever caused these kids to get ill, is even worse than they hadn't, thought, because one of the kids' parents died in a very gruesome way, kind of like the way the swamp killed R.J. Siler's character, the one on the boat. Uh, this parent, I guess, he's in the middle of brushing his teeth, and all of a sudden the swamp just kills him, and he became like an inanimate object, covered with swampy stuff. It's so, oh, it makes me just seeing it. It's just like makes me cringe, man. It's just, ugh. Now, uh, that's basically the context. Now, at the end of the plot, or at the end of this episode, that's when Alec turns into Swamp Thing. Alec gets shot by this mysterious guy, and he falls down to the swamp, and he becomes Swamp Thing. He rises up, and he's like, he's a bit disoriented, like, oh, where am I? And Abby's there, so Abby's like all freaking out, and like trying to, she tries to like run away. It's not like the Swamp Thing was trying to get after her or trying to chase after her. It's just that he's a bit disoriented. It's like, oh, and you can tell that he is gigantic. Now, okay, so I'll give you what happened or what happens in this episode. Let me give you my thoughts. First of all, I'm not from, not that I'm not familiar. I'm gonna give you my history of knowing about Swamp Thing. Okay, I know very little about Swamp Thing. When I was a kid, I did watch the old Swamp Thing series, the 90s. Remember that? The 1990s? I think it ran for like, I don't know, 2, 3 seasons. And Alec Holland and Swamp Thing were played by this actor Dick Durock. Um, Dick unfortunately passed away a decade ago. May he rest in peace. But he was the one that I knew. The face that I was, like, kind of, or the face that I remember, as this character, Alec Holland and Swamp Thing. Um, there was the movie back in 1982, I believe, that starred Dick Durock as the Swamp Thing, but the one who played Alec Holland was Ray Wise. But Ray Wise did not come back for the sequel, Return of the Swamp Thing. By that point, Dick Durock um, takes over both characters. So he played both Alec and Abby Arcane didn't show up in the first movie. She showed up in the second movie, The Return of Swamp Thing, played by Heather Locklear. In the first movie, there's another female love interest that was not, I think her name is Alice, if I'm not mistaken. And the second movie, it was lighter in its tone. The first movie was darker. Now, that's pretty much all that I know. I watched the TV series, but because I grew up in the 90s, obviously, and the TV played reruns of Swamp Thing also in my country, Indonesia. But if you ask me, hey, Rama, do I know everything about Swamp Thing based on that TV series? The answer is no. Because I was more of a fan of the X Files. If you, you know, if I know X Files six ways to Sundays, flip it upside down, every nooks and crannies. You ask me anything, I can answer anything about X Files. But in the 90s, Swamp Thing series on TV was something that I just like, oh, that's interesting. Let me sit down and watch a few episodes. And then after that, I'll go play outside or something else. So, um, but as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, okay? If you are more of a hardcore fan of Swamp Thing, let me know, and if I get this fact wrong. But if, as I understand it, Anton Arcane, the villain, you know, he's like the Joker to Swamp Thing's Batman. As I understand it, Anton Arcane is the one responsible for Alec turning into Swamp Thing. Now, if I get that fact wrong, fact incorrectly, let me know. Let me know. I welcome correction. But my point is that that doesn't seem to be what this show offers. This guy, this mysterious guy, just shoots in this episode. Just shoots Alec Holland, played by Andy Bean, and then Alec Holland, stumbles and falls down, and then the swamp pretty much takes care of the rest. That's it. And I looked it up on IMDb for the cast, complete cast. I don't see Anton Arcane listed anywhere as the character, or I'm looking okay because I was like, who's the actor playing Anton Arcane in this series? There's got to be like, I was like, "Oh, I must have overlooked it, and I scrolled down even slower and slower. I was like, I don't see it. I don't see it. The only Arcane is just Abby Arcane. So, um, obviously they're going a different route with this origin story, with this origin take, unless the Anton Arcane character is supposed to be a surprise, a reveal. That's why they don't want to they don't want to have him listed on IMDb or whatever, or Wikipedia, because it's supposed to be a secret. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's their play. Uh, but right now, it seems that they're going with a different or new or origin take for Swamp Thing. And that's okay. I'm not against that. It's just something that's really, really interesting. Um, the Sunderlands, Avery Sunderland's, the impression I got about this character is that he is very influential. He's like a wealthy dude who has a lab, and he hires Alec Holland, and it seems that his intention is to exploit the swamp. He is like a zealot. He believes that the swamp has certain powers. Um, Obviously, he's right because the swamp has a life of its own. Um, but yeah, he's like one of those guys like, oh, what, you don't believe me? I have faith, my friend. The swamp, and he wants to take advantage of that. For what purpose, for what end, we don't know yet. But that's the impression I got. And I think Will Patton, who is he's been around in this business for a while. You probably remember him most for playing the assistant coach to Denzel Washington in Remember the Titans. So Will Patton plays Avery Sunderland, and he plays it really well. He his performance comes off as this guy who has a hidden agenda. Like, you can't really trust him, but his pocket is so deep, that uh, you never know who he may have bought off. Who's in his pocket. We don't know. That's the impression I get. The whole town obviously don't like him. They have this whole town hall, and they're angry at the mayor and the sheriff and the Sunderlands. They feel like they're exploiting the swamp, and the swamp is getting back at them by giving their kids this disease that they don't know how to cure them. So they're angry at Sunderland's, and Sunderland's like, "Oh, calm down, come on. What I'm trying to do is good, you know." And like, yeah, yeah, that's villain talk for you. Villain does that a lot. um, so instead of Anton Arcane, we have this Avery Sunderland that is a potential villain, and it's interesting. We will see how that plays out. There are only 10 episodes in the season one. You may have heard the controversy that there was supposed to be like about 15 episodes, but this universe decided to cut it down to just 10. Um, and I think actress Virginia Madsen, who plays Maria Sunderland, she was not happy about that. She posted it on Instagram, and then immediately she deleted that post. We know why, because I'm sure the producers or the execs at DC are like, "Hey, what are you doing? You work for us. You're our actor. You can't just express your disgruntlement online like that." So she deleted it, but she obviously was not happy that they had to condense the season. And I'm like, also like, even though I don't have anything against 10 episodes, Netflix always has 10 episodes, obviously. Um, but you've seen Doom Patrol. 15 episodes of Doom Patrol were awesome. I loved it. I'm like, I can't get enough of, like, it's like, oh, there's another new episode next Friday. It's not the end yet. Oh yes, episode 13. Oh, good, good, good. So there's something to look forward to, having so many episodes instead of just 10. But it's okay. It's okay. That's another topic for another time. Um, Crystal Reed, who plays Abby Arcane. I like this actress. I really do. I really do. I saw her play what's Sophia Falcone. She played Sophia Falcone, this gangster, Falcone's daughter, in Gotham season 4. And when I saw her in that show, I was like, oh, she's interesting. That was the first time I noticed um, Crystal Reed. I was like, oh, she's an interesting lady here. Very, she has this cunning way about her, and of course that's what the character requires. She's being the manipulative Sophia Falcone, always plays an angle, and and Crystal Reed has a seductive way of showing it, and I love that. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. And in this pilot episode, oh my god, she is gorgeous. I didn't notice how gorgeous he was until I saw this pilot episode. When in Gotham, I was like, oh, that's a cool performance. I like this actress. She's really interesting to watch. She has this very cool face about her, and then she plays Falcone really well. That was my reaction. In this one, I'm like, I completely head over heels for Crystal Reed. And if you notice in this pilot episode, she makes the most, I guess, interesting is the word I'm looking for, and very fast to facial reaction. Um, she has wide ranging of expressions, reacting to Alec Holland and everybody around her, and like it's so cool just to watch her do that. It's like a privilege. It's like so rewarding because she'll give you a lot to choose from. And I love it when actors do that because TV and film actors, they live in live and breathe in here. It's, as opposed to stage actor, the whole body and the diaphragm count. But it's all about the facial expressions for TV and film actors, and she has a lot to offer in this pilot episode, and it's just so cool watching her do that. Um, Especially tapping into her emotion about this friend of hers, Shauna. Now, about this Shauna girl, it's an interesting drama that they put in there in the middle of the whole Swamp Thing mystery. Um, I guess it's the writer's way, Gary Doberman way of uh, making Abby Arcane seem like she's haunted by her past, or that she has she has a sin, that's bugging her. Um, that her hometown is not too welcoming of her. I get that. I get that. Um, but I wonder how the whole thing with Shauna, her friend from high school, I wonder how that connects to Swamp Thing. Right now, I can't see that. I was like, okay, um, she has a baggage, a history. That's it. That's all we know right now, and it's a bad one. But how that connects to the overarching arc of the whole Swamp Thing story in the whole season one, we don't know that yet. It's an interesting creation of a drama by Gary Doberman, the writer. Um, so let me conclude my review by saying this: their intention with this show is Southern Gothic horror. Southern Gothic horror. Think of what's a good example? It's like True Blood. Remember True Blood? Southern Gothic horror. But in True Blood, there were so many over the top, you know, ridiculousness going on with the vampires or whatnot, and what the vampires do as their habit, with the humans, having sex with the humans, and all that craziness. Um, Whereas this one in Swamp Thing, Southern Gothic horror, but more heavy in its tone. Nothing too over the top, nothing too bombastic or campy. True Blood sometimes got campy a little bit in some of its episodes. Um, so I like the fact that they don't go that direction. Um, and another note is I love the visual effects for the swamp, because the swamp is a living thing, and I love the cinematography. You see the camera kind of follows, the swamp as the swamp branches out. You know, as the swamp kind of fills up the space or the room, or as the swamp approaches the character, about to kill him or her. You see this, so the camera goes pans from the back, and I love that. I love that. The mood I get is very, very, yeah. There's a lot of jump scares too here. Not a lot. A lot is an exaggeration. Several jump scares in this episode. So obviously they're really amping up the horror aspect of it. It's like it's like watching a horror movie on your streaming service or small screen. Um, very cinematic, very cinematic value, cinematic feel to it. Um, it's directed by Len Weissman, who gave us Underworld movies and Live Free or Die Hard, which was okay, but it was a PG-13 Die Hard movie, so the PG-13 kind of killed off the mood. And he also did Total Recall reboot, which was shitty. That was 2012. Um, and Len Weissman hasn't made a single new movie after Total Recall's flop. Ever since then, he only has been directing TV shows, episodes left and right, including Lucifer and the canceled APB, other shows. So he's been a TV director for quite some time now. And but he's the right man for this job because um, obviously he has a history of tackling stories that are dark and um, mysterious in its nature, um, that leaves more questions um, than when you start off. So that's his movies. At least historically, his movies are like that. So, and that's the direction that they're going with the Swamp Thing. So Len Wiseman directing the first two episodes are very fitting. And it's produced by James Wan, who himself started in the horror genre with the Saw movies and Insidious movies. So it's clear that this universe puts these talents together for Swamp Thing because they want to have or to amp up that horror genre feel for this character, for this series. Um, so it's different from Titans. It's different color or different flavor from Doom Patrol. Swamp Thing has its own, which focuses more on the scares. And lastly, actor Derek Mears is the one who plays Swamp Thing. We got to see him a little bit as Swamp Thing at the tail end of this episode, where said to you, it's like he was a bit disoriented. It's like, oh my god, where am I? Uh, Derek Mears is the guy who played Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th reboot a few years back. And I met him. I met him on the carpet, red carpet. I forgot what movie it was. Maybe it's Hatchet, one of the Hatchet installments. And I didn't get to interview him, but I just met him, and the dude is freaking tall. The dude is so tall, and so it makes sense. It makes sense that he got hired for this gig because he has history, background in the horror genre, and physically, he has that physique that's tall and intimidating. That's perfect for a character like Swamp Thing. So can't wait to see. I think be, I think it's gonna be kind of like Doom Patrol, not in its tone. I'm talking about the the switch back and forth between Alec Holland and Swamp Thing. So there's gonna be episodes, I think, where we're gonna see again Andy being as Alec Holland, maybe flashback or dreamscapes kind of memories, and then for the most part, of course, because he has been turned into Swamp Thing, for the most part, we're just gonna see Derek Mears as this creature. Um, but just like Doom Patrol, there's Robot Man and Negative Man, but there were episodes when Matt Bomer and Brendan Fraser step into the front, and they become the lead of those episodes because the story centered around Larry Trainer and Cliff Steele as opposed to their alter egos. So I think there will be episodes in the season one of Swamp Thing that will just focus on Alec Holland, and so we'll see Andy Bean in a few of those episodes. But for the most part, it'll be Derek Mears as Swamp Thing, the title character. That's how they're gonna play it out. Play it out. That's how they're gonna do it. Um, I'm speculating. I'm theorizing, of course. So yeah, like it, enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good premiere pilot episode. I could not wait. I could not wait for next week. I wish DC Universe just drops the whole thing for us to binge watch, but unfortunately, that's not their style. They're going with the CBS All Access method. Damn it. Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix, they're so generous. They always give us like just dump like a bucket of like here, enjoy the whole season all at once. Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix do that. So, but not DC Universe, not CBS All Access. So, thank you so much for tuning in on this special live review of Swamp Thing season 1, episode 1. I'll be back every Friday to review Swamp Thing new episodes. So, if you watch the series and you follow it along with me, tune in again for next Friday's review of episode 2. As always, subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Swamp Thing! Woo woo!